All right, we have a sex question today, so we're going to play it for you to listen to.
During marriage, how often should a husband and wife be having sex or doing other sexual things together?
All right, so this is the classic, how often should a husband and wife be having sex? So the word should is a difficult word to put here. So we're going to talk about different aspects of this answer.
Yeah. I think this is a multifaceted answer that we have to give here because we have to take in consideration how busy you are and what's going on in your life at that time. Because remember, not every single month or week is the same.
Every season brings with it context, and context can often dictate the mood, the drive.
Right. There's a flow. There's a flow to it. So on one hand, we could point to the studies that, or even the DSM-5 that talks about a sexless marriage, right? Which is 10 times a year? Yeah,
10 times a year or less. So about once a month or less, if you're having sex that often, you're considered in a sexless marriage. We know studies show that frequency of sex is linked to satisfaction in the marriage, happiness in the marriage, feeling connected.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to be in a sexless marriage. If that's how often you're having sex and one or both of you are displeased, you need to be talking about this and boosting the frequency of your sex life.
Well, we can't just rush over that too. Like what you just now said.
Yeah.
If one or both of you are displeased with that, it needs a change. And I think that right there is the crucial part that we have to take the information from. How do we meet both of our needs here?
Yes.
That's really what we have to go through and look at. And that it might have to be done in counseling. It might have to be done at a doctor's office because this is a big deal for some people.
Yes.
You know, the disparity in how much she wants it versus how much I want it.
And we actually did a whole video called High Drive, Low Drive. And you can watch that video to hear more about the drive aspect of this and addressing, the drive mismatch. So we won't go into detail on that part right now. But, as far as what normal, quote unquote, again, that's so subjective, but the studies do show that married couples in the US are having sex around 7 times a month, 80 times a year, another study said. So that's equaling about a little less than twice a week. Now, there are studies, there's I think someone did a kind of a survey of 3 different studies
meta study.
Yeah, meta study. And it was 30,000 couples. And in those studies, they showed that if you were having sex at least once a week, there was a satisfaction factor, right? But that satisfaction or happiness didn't go up significantly if you were having sex more than once a week. So yes, satisfaction is linked to frequency, but once you go above that threshold of once per week, they're not seeing much of a difference in satisfaction or happiness.
Right. And when we talk about the satisfaction and happiness, we have to look at like I said a little bit ago, both partners have to be satisfied in order for the satisfaction to remain okay. So that's where we have to work through. Okay. So you want 3 times a week and I want none a week. Okay. We have to figure that out. How, and generally, generally that's tied to frustrations within the marriage of well, you're not showing me love outside of the bedroom, so I'm going to turn myself off. And, and only when you're dragging me into the bedroom will I, maybe get in the mood. And
obligatory sex is not cool. Going to keep you connected or satisfied. So we have a whole episode called, the scheduling sex debate. And we'll link that in the description or the show notes as well.
The podcast we did.
Yeah. And then we also have a podcast called the Sexual Standoff, which is that whole concept of I'll have sex only when you do this. And so again, an unhealthy dynamic, but if you want to listen more on those dynamics, listen to those podcasts that are linked in the show notes.
So we gave you some numbers, we gave you kind of the normal, but ultimately it comes down to, can you and your spouse get on the same page with this? And that might be a very delicate subject for you. Generally, people who are searching for this, they're displeased anyways.
Oftentimes, yeah.
Oftentimes that we've seen, or people that are reaching out are unhappy with what's happening. So get some tools on board, get
Yes.
some, like, be able to communicate about this without hurting the other person's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And when we could start listening with empathy of like, okay, well, what's going on for you here?
Yeah.
Then we could kind of get down and maybe have more sex or get the needs met from both people.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. It's not about just obligatory sex or whatever else. It's about how do we meet the needs of both people. And so neither one of them feel neglected or neither one of them feel kind of forced into doing something.
Because almost certainly if things are off in the bedroom, it's very likely that other things are off outside the bedroom.
Yeah.
So actually, that's one of the reasons why we created Sexpectations. It's
Yes.
a card deck that has 52 questions for you to ask about your intimate connection, both in and outside the bedroom. And we created it because we had clients and people reaching out saying, our expectations are off. We're not talking about sex. We don't know how to talk about sex. What questions should we ask? So we wrote 52 questions. We beta tested it. We had a lot more than 52 questions to begin with.
And now we've sold a lot of them to people all over the world and have had amazing feedback from it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, there's a link down in the show notes and down in the description that could take you to Amazon, and you could buy them from there.
Yeah. And we totally shamelessly plug it because
Well, they're just awesome. Right?
that's why we created them. We do them ourselves and we wrote them, but you have to keep asking these questions often.
Because we change.
Exactly. So we encourage you, don't just be asking how frequently should we be having sex or doing sexual things, I think this guy said, but also all the context of that question, which those are covered in the 52 questions of Sexpectations.
So I hope this helped. I hope this answered your question. If you liked the video, please like it, give it a thumbs up, and give us a sub if you haven't already.
Yes, and more Ask episodes are out there. You can check the video here to see another Ask episode. If you want to ask a question, go to the link in the show notes to leave. It's called SpeakPipe. You can ask your question. We might include that in our next Ask episode.
See you in the next video.